Well, g'day, it's Dave here for Heavy Duty TV, and today I'm on board a brand new 2021 Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. And what an absolute joy to be aboard this bike is. I've spent the last 2 weeks riding it around Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Here's a few of the things I've learned along the way.
But first, a little bit of history. I go back to the 28th of December 2006 as the day that I first got the Fat Boy. I'd ridden some before, but that was the day the penny dropped and I kinda understood the bike. It was a lovely summer's Thursday on New Zealand's North Island, and I had a brand new khaki 2007 model press bike in my possession. As most of my riding buddies had gone back to post-Christmas work, I decided that a solo ride around the Coromandel Peninsula was the order of the day. Several of those buddies would have told me that this was a crazy idea. I mean, the Coromandel Loop is one of the best sports riding scratch roads on the planet. If there is a better day ride out of a major city anywhere, I sure want to ride it. But as it was, I'd done the loop in both directions dozens of times, attacking the endlessly twisty roads on a variety of machines, from rapid leader bikes, high-performance sports tourers, to well-performed big-capacity adventure bikes. But a Fat Boy, with its limited lean angles and that zany 200-section rear tyre and those lounge chair ergonomics? Well, you know, it turned out to be one of the most enjoyable rides I had that entire summer. Instead of charging through the glorious landscape at pace, I was forced to do what the bike was designed for. I cruised. I buttoned off, and although the pace was still brisk enough, I had time to look around and even do a bit of exploring, instead of hard charging to the next spectacular set of twisties. The challenge of gently kissing the wide footboards on the tarmac became the game. Slow in, fast out, and as soon as the apex was negotiated, the joy of winding on that torque screw from the 96 cube twin cam and pulling out again with gusto beckoned. Then it was a matter of using the big bore's sturdy engine braking to wash off speed before the next corner, just to throw it in again with exaggerated body English to accommodate the bike's limited lean angles, and repeat, and again, all day and all the time thinking, you know what, this is good fun. In the ensuing 15 years, and a dozen Fat Boy test bikes later, the experience of that day has held true, especially as the model has evolved from the 96 cube to the 103 cube to the 107 cube Milwaukee 8 to the current 114 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 motor that is as sweet as any big twin Harley have produced.
This one's running the 114 cube, which is now standard on the Fat Boy, and as we've been saying since the Milwaukee 8s came out, this one's just a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer, and a little bit more refined than those that have gone before it.
The publisher reckons that that's down to the fuel mapping. So I asked a few of the specialist tuner friends of the magazine for their theories, and they agreed that the motor definitely runs smoother and is more responsive than earlier incarnations. Which brings us to the here and now. Apart from the engine's evolution, the only significant change in the machine from the unit we tested in issue number 156 of Heavy Duty is bling. The engine cases, nacelle, rocker covers, exhaust, fork leg uppers, and other details that were previously a brushed metal finish are now glorious Harley-Davidson quality chrome, and it looks fantastic. The super fat, solid Lakester wheels are a bright metal finish, and HD says they are coated in a corrosion-resistant finish. Not only does the bike look strong and muscular, but enjoyment is what this bike is all about. It remains eminently pleasurable to be on board.
What has improved significantly over the years is that the 240 section rears aren't nearly as inclined to follow the corrugations or seams in the tarmac as some of the older super wide tyres did. This tracks reasonably well. This is a pretty rough road and there's some seams in the tarmac, and it remains unaffected by them. Of course, the other advantage to this one is that it's very easy to adjust that rear preload and get the rear suspension dialed in, rear monoshock dialed in just nicely. It's a very comfortable bike, it really is. It's got this lovely set of pullback wide sort of ranch style bars. It's got the big wide footboards. It's got a lovely saddle. It's just very comfortable. I've done a couple of big day rides on this bike, a lot of freeway riding, and then when you're out here on freeway speeds or at freeway speeds, it's just smooth and you can feel this slight pulse coming through the handlebars and footboards, but nothing to interfere with the enjoyment of the ride. And then when you do want to get around a truck or hit an overtaking manoeuvre, the top gear wind on is just lovely. So strong. The brakes are good. Single disc on the front pulls it up nicely with not a lot of effort required at the lever. The rear is good and strong. And the way it pulls out of the corners with the big torque of that 114 is, as I say, very pleasant. It's also just a sublime cruiser. It will trundle along quite comfortably at 1250 RPM in top gear at 60 kilometers an hour, very comfortably and very smoothly. What you do have to allow for on any Fat Boy is the fact that it does have limited cornering clearance. You've got to ride around the 240 section rear, a 160 front. That said, you use a heap more exaggerated body English, you climb off the saddle, you get a knee out, and you use the fact that it requires far more cornering effort or far more energy to go into getting it to corner, and I reckon it actually adds to the fun of the bike. It's not an efficient handling machine. The big rubber is about getting power to the ground in a straight line and the aesthetic appeal and the look of the thing. So you do have to ride around it a little bit. That said, it's part of the appeal and part of the fun. It's not the sort of bike that you'd want to put a novice on, because it takes some effort, and it actually, I think, takes a little bit of skill to ride this bike efficiently. And again, that is part of its appeal. It's a good, fun thing. Right, just wait for a clear run here. Slightly uphill freeway on-ramp. We'll give her a bit and see how she goes. It goes very nicely. Really does. Very strong. Very easy to launch. And it goes great. One of the things that is different from riding the older school Fat Boys is that they used to have this big parabolic reflector, or a big parabolic headlight out the front. You used to watch the world go past reflected in that huge headlight. The new style has brought the whole front end of the bike back, and it feels far more compact. I know it's just an optical illusion, but it feels like you're more over the front wheel than on previous models, and you add to that the fact that it's got this great looking hot rod style that just makes you feel good to be aboard. That's what it is. It's one of those bikes that remains just a really good feel-good motorcycle. The only thing I'd do to this bike is maybe put some slightly less restrictive exhausts on it, and I'd definitely add cruise control. I think it's around about a $500 to $600 option to add cruise to this bike, and I think that would round it off really nicely. All that'd be left to do for me would be to ride the wheels off the thing.
I put over 1,000 kilometres on the bike in a variety of riding conditions around southeast Queensland, which aren't quite the Coromandel's level of spectacular, but there are some very good hinterland bike roads nonetheless. Around town, it's a feel-good head tuner that projects like it's the king of the boulevard. On the freeways and the open roads, it's very strong and steady, while the 18.9 litre tank gives good range and the ergonomics work well without the need for screens or bodywork. On the scratch roads, well, it's time to button off again and enjoy the scenery. But as I found out 15 years ago, that can be pretty enjoyable too. To that end, throughout its long history, the Fat Boy has stayed true. The 2021 unit is a worthy chapter in its history, probably its best.
So that's just a few of the things I've learned about this bike after 2 weeks riding it around Brisbane and the Gold Coast. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It really is a delightful machine. Full story and photo set will be in issue 177 of Heavy Duty magazine. We'll see you on the road.